What's good, y'all? This your boy Ty back at y'all with another video. Y'all hit that like button. Y'all comment, share, subscribe if you new. Now, I'm not going to make this video too long-winded. We're going to just get straight to the point. One of the brothers in the comment section, and we're going to, I'm going to debunk this real quick. He sent me this video in the comment section claiming that Kobe Bryant was not an inefficient player. The brother Legend of Winning did this video. So we're going to break it down. And I'm going to chime in here and there. But I will say this before I get started with this video. It's very important that we know why we think what we think. And stop relying on other people's thoughts and opinions on things. It's cool to agree with people. There's nothing wrong with that. But also at the same token, have your own mind and know why you think what you think. That's part of being, that's what men do. Men know how to do that. You know why you think what you think. If you think that, if you believe that, if you come up with empirical data and facts to back up your claim, we can have a debate. We can agree to disagree. I don't expect everybody to agree with me when it comes to these topics. It's all love at the end of the day. But if you're relying on other people's thoughts and opinions on who's the GOAT, who says this, who says that, I'd rather listen to this, that, and the third, you're entitled to feel that way, but I'm entitled to feel the way I feel. And I have my own thoughts and opinions and my own analysis and processes and breakdowns that I have on why I think otherwise and why I believe otherwise. But you're still entitled to your opinion, though. So what I would advise people to know is that to always have your own mind and know why you think what you think, because that's not what men don't do that. And I mean that with all due respect, because I got love for each and every last one of y'all. But real men know why they think what they think, and they do their own research. Right? So with that being said, I don't want to make this too long-winded. We're going to get to this video and we're going to get to the point. And I'm going to chime in here and there.
It's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and in today's video we're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Kobe Bean Bryant, who's a Hall of Famer, my favorite player, and just a few weeks ago was named one of the top 75.
His favorite player. So in other words, when it comes to y'all favorite players, whether it be LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and all these other dudes that y'all like and who y'all favorite players, some of y'all biases tend to go out the window when it comes to your favorite player. You don't like to use facts sometimes. You like to ignore certain things to big up some of your favorite guys. It just, everything has to be in moderation when it comes to these players. And I disagree with the brother Low, but at least he knows why he thinks what he thinks. So I can say that. He's took time to do his own research. So I can respect that.
5 greatest players of all time. Now, to be fair, Kobe Bryant is a very polarizing player, and with that stance, there's a lot of criticism that also follows his greatness, most of which I do agree with and I do believe is valid. However, there is one piece of criticism that I never thoroughly understood. The concept of Kobe Bryant is inefficient.
Kobe was efficient, bro.
Kobe was efficient, but at the same time,
He was not that efficient.
Kobe is not efficient at all.
Very inefficient.
Oh, he was inefficient. Now, the reason why this statement always...
See, this type of stuff that be funny to me. See, people say things and they don't have facts to back it up. They just say it because it sounds good and everybody has said it. But you got to, provide some empirical data before you claim something like that. But I do agree he is. He was not efficient. But we're gonna break it down.
Leaves me scratching my head is because when I was watching Kobe Bryant, it never felt like he was inefficient. It felt like he was dominant, producing in meaningful moments, one of the greatest scorers I've ever seen in my life. And of course, there were the occasional games that
Kobe had his moments, but he also and of course Low gonna allude to that. But he had his moments. He was dominant, and he also had his moments where he was horrific.
certainly are a blemish on his career. And please don't spend too much time on the last 3 years of his career, because I'm definitely not going to try to defend it. But as a whole, I just don't understand how 19 years of a career as great as Kobe Bryant can be so synonymous with the term inefficient. So in today's video, we're going to see if that's true, because personally, I have a hard time believing that it is. Now, in terms of finding out how efficient a player is in the NBA, there are a handful of ways of doing so. For one, there's an actual stat called efficiency, or you can look at one's PER, which stands for player efficiency rating. However, most people are not aware of these statistics, and even though people who are aware of them really don't even know how to properly calculate them to make an assessment on a player. But if you are someone who claims that Kobe Bryant is inefficient based off of his PER, I then would ask you, would you then claim that players such as Klay Thompson, Reggie Miller, or Ray Allen were inefficient because all three of those players have a lower PER than Kobe?
Most of those guys that you're naming, and including this Klay Thompson thing, he was never the focus of a defense. So bad point right here. He was never the focus on the defense, and most of his shots were three-point shots. He was never a person that was a slasher and operated in the mid-range. Klay Thompson got his shots within the flow of the offense. It was times where Klay was even relatively dwindled to like a third, fourth player on his team. So it's not the same thing. Reggie Miller and Ray Allen, they both were known for their outside shooting and scoring ability. Now, it was earlier parts of Ray Allen's career where he was athletic, where he was getting to the hole and driving, but his numbers started to dwindle as he got older, right?
Bryant, which more than likely, no, you would not. And the biggest reason why is because when people are critiquing Kobe Bryant's efficiency,
and when I mean by Ray Allen's points his field goal percentage and things of that nature got older, is when he started to be relegated and known as a three-point shooter.
they are referencing how efficiently does he put the ball in the basket. And the reason why I'm confident to coming to this conclusion is because when many people are making this assessment on Kobe, they then pivot to facts about Kobe Bryant's field goal percentage, or also highlighting how he has the most misses in NBA history, which is factually correct. However, and I cannot believe I have to say this in 2021, but it still blows my mind how many experts still make this mistake to this day, but field goal percentage does not calculate efficiency. Now, why is that? Well, simply put, because the definition of being efficient means achieving maximum productivity with minimum wasted effort or expense. And in basketball terms, that basically means maximizing the amount of points that you score with minimum amount of attempts shooting the basketball. And because of that simple definition alone, field goal percentage literally cannot equate to efficiency, because the only thing that field goal percentage equates to is accuracy. Let's say you have player A and player B. Player A...
Before he get into this, right here, right? So if field goal percentage only equates to accuracy, y'all. So if I shoot the ball, right? Let's say you've been playing basketball your whole life. You know your jump shot. You know your jump shot. You know how the ball is going. You know how to let the ball go with the flick of your wrist, right? You know your jump shot, right? Have you ever, people who have ever played basketball, have you ever had a shot before that was on line, but it rattled in and out, or it came in and out? So that means so you shot the ball accurately out of your hands, right? So just because it didn't go in, you still shot the ball with accuracy is what I'm saying, right? So the fact that it didn't go in or it missed, that means you weren't accurate enough, right? I want people to make that make sense for me. It does not equate to accuracy, because we've seen shots rattle in and out. We've seen shots bounce, 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 and go in. We've seen crazy shots fall down, just like we've seen crazy misses. Field goal percentage does not equate to no accuracy. That's crazy.
Shot 5 for 10 from the field, all of which were 2-pointers, so that means they scored 10 points with a field goal percentage of 50%. However, player B shot 4 for 9 from the field, which means that they have a field goal percentage of 44%, but since all of the shots that they made were 3-pointers, they were able to score 12 points. Now, even though player B had a lower field goal percentage, they still are more efficient than player A, because they were able to score 12 points on 9 shot attempts, while player B was only able to produce 10 points on 10 shot attempts.
I get what he's saying, but this is my thing. It depends on who player A and who player B is. Put a name behind, is player A Is player A Steph Curry or player A is LeBron James? Or is player A Reggie Miller? Or is player B a Kobe Bryant? Right? It depends on who the players is, and it also depends on how they're getting those shot attempts up. Is player A getting easy buckets? Because when you're shooting threes, you got to work a little harder to get open for threes. Right? And then let's use this analogy. If you're a person that's in transition, you're in transition, right? And you get a turnover on the other end. You're running up and down the court. So you instead of you taking the 2-point shot, you kick it out to a guy that's wide open for three. He misses it, and the other team gets an easy layup and an easy point. Right? So the three only matters if you make the three. It only matters if you make the three. So before you be efficient, or if you want to be calculated as a person who is efficient, right? You have to make the three first. The three does count more than the two, but the three you still have to make the three to count more as the two, right? You still have to make them, and you still have to make them at a high cliff. 50% on twos. I'm taking that because at the end of the day, that player 9 times out of 10 is taking his shots within the flow of the offense. He's getting easy shots. So it depends on who is what? Is 5 for 10 LeBron James, or is LeBron James 5 for 10? Or is Steph Curry 4 for 9? Or is vice versa? Is Steph Curry 5 for 10, or is LeBron James 4 for 9? It depends. It all depends.
So again, scoring more points on fewer attempts, thus making that player more efficient. So now,
No, sir. But go ahead. I get what you're trying to say, but no, sir.
you may be wondering, how exactly do we calculate efficiency if field goal percentage is unable to do so? Well, the best way to do so is to look at one's true shooting percentage. And the reason why is because true shooting percentage takes into consideration that threes are more valuable than twos, as well as looking at...
You have to make the three first for the three to be more valuable than the two, brother. Come on, man. And everybody can't shoot threes.
production at the free throw line. And the reason why it is important to make sure we take into consideration free throws is because 20 to 30% of the points that volume scorers record come from the free throw line. Now, for the people out there who are concerned about the legitimacy of true shooting percentage, especially when you're trying to figure out the true efficiency of big men who did not shoot threes or also were horrible at free throw shooting, trust me when I say, please don't be too concerned, because when you look at the numbers, you'll clearly see those players are still very efficient scorers. But what is a legitimate concern is determining what is the standard of efficiency. Because comparing Kobe Bryant to today's era of basketball, quite honestly, just wouldn't do him any justice, mainly because how much the game of basketball has changed since he's played a full
We don't have to compare him to this era of basketball. Even in his era, he was.
season in the NBA. And so to make sure we eliminate all of those factors, we're only going to be comparing Kobe Bryant to his peers, players who played within the years 2000 to 2013 and played at least 500 games, and players who averaged at least 19 points or more. Not only does this remove all variables that will be out of Kobe Bryant's control, while also excluding the tail end of certain players' careers like Karl Malone, or the first couple of years of other players' careers like Damian Lillard. So, with those parameters set, what exactly is the standard of efficiency between the years of 2000 and 2013, or better known as the league average true shooting percentage? And that number is 53%. So, that's the magic number, and here is the graph. On the x-axis, we have the points per game average, and on the y-axis, we have the true shooting percentages. Again, 53% is the league average throughout this 14-year span, so that line will be bolded. And now, all the dots on the screen represent all of the volume scores throughout this time frame. Now, of course, on the screen, we have some familiar faces. All the way up here, we have Ray Allen, who was easily the most efficient perimeter-oriented player within his time frame. And right above him, we have both Amari Stoudemire and Shaquille O'Neal. So, for the people out there who were concerned about how true shooting percentage affects big men, well, both players not only did not shoot any threes, but Shaq is historically one of the worst free throw shooters in NBA history, and yet both of them have the highest true shooting percentages. Now,
yes, they have high true shooting percentages because both of those, Shaq Moso was in the post and getting his baskets, getting easy baskets under the rim. That's why it's so high. These dudes don't put nothing in context, man. Same thing with Amari Stoudemire. Mid-range, post. Same thing. That's why they're so high. Those numbers were so out of this world. I think Shaq is a career 58% shooter from the field. That's why he's so high on the list.
Now, below league average, you have players such as Monte Ellis and Antoine Jameson. However, what really threw me by surprise was
Perimeter guys.
Tracy McGrady. However, when you take into consideration that McGrady was dealing with a lot of injuries, as well as him being a subpar free throw shooter, then I guess a true shooting percentage of 52% somewhat makes sense. But we're not here for that, because we got to figure out where exactly is Kobe Bryant. Now, if you are someone who believes that Kobe was inefficient, then you probably believe that this dot here belongs to him. As not only is it someone below league average in true shooting, but also has a high volume in terms of his scoring prowess. However, you would be wrong. That dot doesn't belong to Kobe Bryant. That's actually Allen Iverson.
Allen fucking Iverson. Allen Iverson. One of y'all dudes that be in the comment section that be caping for Allen Iverson has a low. I told y'all he was inefficient as well. I think he's a career 42% shooter from the field, 43% shooter from the field. His true field goal percentage is even lower than Kobe's. But y'all want to sit here and say you accept Allen Iverson's word, a cat who was inefficient his damn self, and try to use him as an argument to say he's the greatest player of all, or he's one of the second greatest players of all time. Come on, man. Allen Iverson took a lot of bad shots and a lot of low IQ shots. So did Kobe.
True shooting percentage of 51.8, which means that this dot here belongs to Kobe Bryant, who averaged 27.8 points per game in this time frame with a true shooting percentage of 55.6%, which makes his true shooting percentage above league average. But more importantly, this does mean that Kobe Bryant is indeed an efficient volume scorer. Now, with that myth,
No, sir.
being
I get what you're trying to say, but no.
and while I have your attention, there are a few other things that I want to just tackle just briefly. A, it is amazing to me that Kobe, who again has a true shooting percentage of 55.6, still consistently gets hit with the label of inefficient, but you have a player like D. Wade, who has a true shooting percentage of 56.7%.
I did research on these two cats. The reason why Kobe is so close to these guys is because Dwayne Wade is a career 76% shooter from the field. A career 76 free throw shooter from the field. And Kobe Bryant is I think he's 83 or 84 if I'm not mistaken. He's around that range.
Or even LeBron, who had a true shooting percentage of 57.5% during his time frame, and yet no one claims that they are quote-unquote inefficient, despite the fact that
Not the same thing, brother. LeBron James is a career 50% shooter from the field, and I understand he still is playing and actively playing, but even in his years in Miami, he was still a high-efficient shooter and a high-efficient scorer then. And the only reason why that's close as well is once again because of LeBron James' free throw percentages. These dudes don't put nothing in context. That's the reason why Kobe is so closer to these guys. I'm telling y'all, man. I told y'all, do your own research, man.
their level of efficiency is relatively similar to Kobe's. But hey, I guess technically speaking, they're higher, so you might be able to make the argument. But what about KG or Tim Duncan? Both players have a true shooting percentage that is lower than Kobe's. And again, no one doesn't claim that they are inefficient ball.
Brother, Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan was not known for three-point shooting. This is crazy. This is crazy. Kevin Garnett was not a three-point shooter. Neither was Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is a career, I think, 69% shooter from the free throw line. Kevin Garnett is in the high 70s, if I'm not mistaken. That's why Kobe Bryant It's so closer. But keep in mind, Garnett 55.5. Kobe Bryant's 55.6. I told y'all when it comes to Kevin Garnett's free throw percentage, that's why it's so close. Tim Duncan, 55.0. And nonetheless, they're still close. These big men are still closer to Kobe. They still closer to Kobe. See, this is the thing. Like I said, I already debunked Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade is not a three-point shooter himself. And I think he's like a career 76% shooter from the field. Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan were not three-point shooters. Kevin Garnett was an average free throw shooter. Tim Duncan was a below average, or you could say horrific free throw shooter. He was 69%. So however you want to slice it, he's either below average or he was just horrible. Y'all do the math. That's why it's so close with Kobe and Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. And he's still right here when it comes to big men. And also keep in mind that this was a physical era around this time as well. Let's take that in consideration. Both Garnett and Duncan both were known for operating in the paint and in the post. And yet alone, his quote unquote shooting percentage rate is barely higher than two big men. Come on, y'all.
All players. So, because of this, I dug a little deeper because there had to be some inkling of proof that Kobe Bryant was inefficient at scoring the basketball. I looked back on a year-to-year basis throughout the years 2000 and 2013, and no, still could not find a single year where Kobe Bryant had a true shooting that was below league average. Matter of fact, he has some seasons where his true shooting percentage is 3 to 4% higher than league average. Actually, the year in which he led the NBA average.
Moral of the story is true shooting percentage does not count as you being an accurate player. As you being an efficient player. It just pretty much, if you look up true shooting percentage, I challenge anybody, because before I did this video and before I did this breakdown, I looked up what true shooting percentage is. It calculates it basically measures all of your field goal percentages, your free throw percentages, and 3-point percentages. When he brings up Tim Duncan and a Kevin Garnett, who are below average, are below average to average free throw shooters, that's why he's so close. And neither one of those guys, once again, were 3-point shooters. Right?
Averaging 31 points per game, he had a true shooting percentage of 58%, which is mind-blowing and should be even further proof that Kobe Bryant is not inefficient at all, but yet I kept digging. I then went to the playoff numbers and still no proof. Kobe Bryant's true shooting percentage does dip by 1%. However, that is very common amongst many volume scorers. But even with a 1% drop in his true shooting percentage, Kobe would still be above league average. Furthermore, when I dug even deeper into Kobe Bryant's playoff performances, I started to notice a very consistent pattern, and that is Kobe Bryant matched up against some of the most toughest defensive competition in league history. See, Kobe played in arguably the most defensive-oriented era in NBA history. And on top of the fact that he played in the Western Conference.
All right, so did Duncan, and so did Duncan. So did what's his name? Kevin Garnett. So did Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James played in some of those tough and physical eras as well. Yes, some of those cats did play in the Eastern Conference. Tim Duncan played in the West. And Kevin Garnett played in the West. And yet alone, even if y'all want to say, oh, the Eastern Conference was weak when LeBron James and Dwayne Wade was in it, it was still physical teams in the Eastern Conference, and they still had to beat these teams. I told y'all, most of these games in the 2000s was ending in the 70s, in the 80s. That era was physical ball. So yes, Kobe was going up against most of them in the Western Conference. But each and every last one of these dudes played in a physical era. And I keep telling y'all, it also depends on what type of shots and what shot selections that these dudes put up night in and night out that makes their field goal percentages so atrocious at times or great. Kobe Bryant had great moments, and he also had horrific moments.
Tougher than the Eastern Conference, and it actually makes sense how consistently Kobe matched up against top 10 defenses in the NBA on a year-to-year basis. To put a number on it, again, between the years of 2000 and 2013, Kobe Bryant matched up against 36 teams in the playoffs. Out of those 36 teams, 28 of them had a top 10 defense or better, which means that over 75% of the time, Kobe was matching up against one of the top 10 defensive units in the NBA that year. And to make things even,
so that means let me say this. If you want to equate 2000 and 2013, I already told y'all about the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. Let's do 2000 to 04, since they want to bring up since he want to talk about 2000 and 2013. Kobe Bryant was not getting double teamed during those three-peat Lakers. So that's not so Kobe wasn't facing double teams. Shaq was facing double teams once again, night in and night out. 05 and I think 07, 08, around those time periods, like I said, his efficiency rating started to rise once again once Phil came back. I keep telling y'all this. Phil got this man the ball in. I already did this on my Kobe epilogue video. When Phil left, the brother, like I said, was missing the playoffs, so he was a first round exit. So you can't, it's not much accumulative numbers around that point in time and time period that you can really equate to, because he was a first round exit. He was missing the playoffs. Once Phil came back, that's when they started to skyrocket a little bit more. So it was the implementation once again of the triangle offense and getting Kobe to buy in, because that stint without Phil Jackson showed you how inefficient he was as a basketball player. Not to mention, once again, before I start this video, Kobe Bryant was horrible in the 08 finals. Horrific. Yes, Phil Jackson was at the helm, and yes, that was an all-time great defense the Boston Celtics had. Still was horrific. 09, phenomenal. 2010, down the stretch of Game 7, he was horrible. Shot 6 of 24, and Ron Artest bailed his ass out. Y'all want to sit here and belittle Kobe Bryant's teammates, right? Y'all want to sit here and belittle his teammates and talk shit about his teammates, but Ron Artest bailed his ass out in that Game 7.
Even more interesting, there was only one time in Kobe's entire postseason career where he had the privilege to match up against a team that had a bottom 10 defense. This matchup occurred in the 2010 Western Conference Finals, where the Lakers went up against a Phoenix Suns team that had the 23rd ranked defense in the NBA that season. And by the end of the series, you could argue Kobe had the best series of his entire career, averaging nearly 34.
Yeah, you said a 23. There was a 23 ranked defense that year. So yeah, and Phil Jackson was at the helm. Yeah, he was. Yeah. And I'm not taking nothing away from Kobe. He's a great player, and he did do his thing. But come on. These dudes tell you the truth. And say it in cold.
0.7 rebounds, 8 assists, and with a true shooting percentage of nearly 64%, which was roughly 12% higher than league average that season. Now, what exactly does all this mean? Well, let me put some numbers on it so you can get a better understanding of how impressive all of this is. During the years of 2000 and 2013, the league average defensive rating is 105.6. However, Kobe Bryant's competition in the playoffs on average had a defensive rating of 102.4. And remember, with defensive rating, the lower the number, the better, which means that Kobe Bryant's defensive competition in the playoffs had a defensive rating differential of negative 3.1. To put that into context, if we did the exact same thing for Michael Jordan, the league average throughout his years in the playoffs was 107.5, with his competition having a defensive rating of 105.3, which means that the defensive differential would be less than Kobe's. And if we did the exact same thing with LeBron, again, the defensive differential is not on par with Kobe Bryant's competition.
Yes, Kobe faced some tough competition in the early 2000s, especially in the Western Conference. I get that. I understand that. Jordan, he faced some physical competition as well. It wasn't as physical as the 2000s, but yet alone it was still physical. I get that. But That's why I give a lot of credit to Phil Jackson in implementing the triangle offense and making it happen. Because like I said, if it wasn't for the triangle offense and Phil Jackson getting Kobe to buy in, he'll be shooting poorly against these defensive teams night in and night out, because he wouldn't have no coach to reel him in to play in a real system.
That Kobe Bryant had to match up against tougher defensive competition throughout his playoff career. So the fact that Kobe's shooting efficiency only dropped by 1%, despite the fact that he matched up against all-time great defensive units throughout his postseason career, is even more mind-blowing and should further dispel any narrative that Kobe Bryant was quote-unquote inefficient. So, with all of this time, research, and context implied into Kobe Bryant's career and the label of him being inefficient finally being debunked, you would believe that I would be content in the concept of debunking this whole Kobe Bryant is inefficient narrative. But I'm just not. I'm sorry, people. I don't understand how so many people can be wrong at this. There has to be some way that people are looking at this through a lens of Kobe Bryant being inefficient. So let's just remove all variables and blindly compare.
I'm not. I look at all the numbers. I just don't just nitpick numbers to make my argument sound better. I look at everything down the line. I don't omit or count anything out or put anything to the side. And like I said, I respect the brother legend of winning. This is not disrespect at all. So all you dudes that want to sit here and make it come in here or make it seem like that I'm disrespecting the brother low, I'm not, because he knows why he thinks what he thinks. I can respect people who can do their own research. But that don't mean I have to agree with you, because I have my own thought process and analysis as well.
Kobe Bryant's true shooting percentage between the years 2000 and 2013, which again is 55.6%, to today's era of basketball. Because that would be the only way possible that I can imagine that someone could confidently claim that Kobe Bryant is indeed inefficient. But even when I do that, there aren't that many years where that would be applicable to. I looked over several years over the course of the past decade, and honestly, only came up with 3 years where Kobe Bryant's true shooting percentage would be below league average. Those 3 years are 2019, 2020, and the 2021 season. But that's literally it. So even if you are someone who wouldn't use relative true shooting percentage and just ignorantly compare Kobe Bryant across league history just willy-nilly, there's only 3 years in which you could claim that Kobe Bryant was an inefficient volume scorer. But if you do that, you're dumb. You are literally stripping away several layers of context that is needed for this complex conversation. Furthermore, after me and my team did the research for this video, shout out to Classy and No Limit.
That's all I got for this video, y'all. I know I made it a little long, but like I said, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I can respect Low because he did back up his claim with empirical data, logic, and rationale. So I can respect that. But with that being said, I still have my own thought process and own analysis where I disagree with him. And I gave it, and of course I explained why and broke it down in this video. But like I said, man, it's very important to know why you think what you think. It's very important as a man, and stop being a person that just says it's correct because another man says it. No, have your own mind, man. The only person, people are intelligent, and if people have some insightful things to say, of course you listen to them, but don't be a person out here accepting information because it sounds good and it get too tedious or too laborious for you to go and do the own actual research yourself and be able to scrutinize information. Have your own mind and know why you think what you think. If we can agree or disagree. And as far as this personal stuff in my comment section, keep it basketball or you will be blocked. But anyway, that's all I got in this video. Y'all hit that like button. Y'all comment, share, subscribe if you new. And I'm out, y'all. To the next video. Peace.